What's up, history buffs and scandal seekers? Welcome back to the channel, where we dig into the most fascinating, forgotten, and sometimes flat-out shocking stories of the past. Today we're unearthing a tale that combines immense wealth, political power, and a dramatic family saga that would make any modern reality show blush. We're talking about Elizabeth Browning Donner, a woman born into unimaginable privilege who briefly became part of America's most famous political dynasty, only to disappear into a life of quiet seclusion after a whirlwind of public scandal. Get ready, because this is one for the history books. Elizabeth Browning Donner entered the world in 1911, not just in any city, but in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a bustling industrial powerhouse. She was born into the very pinnacle of American aristocracy, the Donner family. Her father, William Henry Donner, was a name synonymous with success, a self-made titan who amassed a colossal fortune in the steel industry and real estate. Imagine the sheer scale of that wealth in the early 20th century. This wasn't merely a fortune, it was an empire. William Donner had an almost Midas touch, turning raw materials and sprawling land into staggering capital. He was a visionary in an era defined by industrial giants, forging his path with shrewd business acumen and an unyielding drive. The Donner name wasn't just about money, it was about influence, power, and a deep-seated presence in the fabric of American high society. William Donner himself was a renowned philanthropist, understanding that with immense wealth came immense responsibility. He established the Donner Foundation, a groundbreaking initiative that poured substantial resources into vital cancer research, a remarkably progressive focus for the time, and countless other noble causes, demonstrating a profound commitment to civic duty. This wasn't just a family that had money. They actively used it, shaping society through their generosity and leaving a profound charitable legacy that continues to impact lives even today. So, picture Elizabeth's childhood. It was a world of immense affluence, a gilded existence that few could ever dream of. Imagine grand sprawling homes filled with exquisite furnishings, meticulously manicured gardens, and a staff dedicated to ensuring every comfort. Her days would have been structured, likely overseen by meticulous governesses who instilled proper etiquette, languages, and a love for the arts. Every conceivable luxury would have been at her fingertips. The finest clothes, exclusive travel opportunities, and access to the cultural richness of early 20th century America. She was part of that exclusive, rarefied circle of America's elite, a socialite in the making, being groomed for a life within the upper echelons of society. While the specific details of her early education remain largely private, a common characteristic of the era's upper class, it's safe to assume she received the finest schooling available, whether through private tutors or prestigious boarding schools designed for young women of her standing. This education would have extended beyond academics to encompass social graces, an understanding of philanthropy, and the intricate dance of high society. She would have been surrounded by a network of equally privileged peers, forming connections that would shape her future interactions. Her family's immense wealth and impeccable social standing naturally positioned her as one of the most eligible young women in the country, a fact that would soon catapult her into a union that would capture the nation's attention, forever intertwining her life with one of America's most iconic political families. Now, this is where Elizabeth's story takes a dramatic turn from private privilege to public spectacle, a transformation that would define her early adult life and cast a long shadow over her future. On January 16, 1932, a date forever etched in her personal history and documented in society pages across the nation. Elizabeth Browning Donner walked down the aisle to marry Elliott Roosevelt. Yes, you heard that right. Elliott Roosevelt, the second son of none other than Franklin D. Roosevelt, who at the time was the charismatic governor of New York, and crucially, on the very cusp of his legendary presidential candidacy. The timing of this wedding could not have been more significant. America was deep in the throes of the Great Depression, and the public was desperate for glimmers of hope and glamour. The Roosevelts, with Franklin D. poised to seize the Democratic nomination, were rapidly becoming the most talked about family in the nation. This wasn't just any wedding. It was a societal earthquake, a meticulously choreographed event designed to impress and unite two immense powers. Here you had the scion of one of America's wealthiest industrialist families, the Donners, with their deep pockets and established social pedigree, uniting with the son of a political dynasty destined for the White House, the Roosevelts, symbolizing a new era of American leadership and progressive ideals. Elizabeth, then just 21, radiant and poised, and Elliott, also 21, charismatic and seemingly full of youthful vigor, were presented to the world as a glamorous, youthful couple, a perfect blend of old money prestige and burgeoning political power. The press, always hungry for a story, especially one involving such prominent figures, devoured every detail of the event. News articles meticulously covered the grandeur expected of such a high-profile union, the guest list of who's who in American society, the elaborate floral arrangements, the opulent reception. It was a moment of immense public fascination, a blend of traditional aristocratic pomp and the rising tide of national political celebrity. For a brief, shining moment, the future seemed dazzlingly bright, filled with promise and endless possibilities for this golden couple, a symbol of hope and unity in a fractured nation. But here's the twist, the kind of twist that fuels headlines, leaves society reeling, and often marks the beginning of a public figure's retreat into the shadows. What began as a celebrated union, lauded in society columns and national newspapers, quickly unraveled with an almost shocking swiftness. The dazzling facade began to crack and then shatter in a period of time so short it left everyone bewildered. The marriage between Elizabeth Donner and Elliott Roosevelt barely had time to truly begin before it spectacularly imploded. It lasted a mere less than 18 months, a blink of an eye in the context of what was expected of a high-profile union, before ending in a highly publicized divorce in 1933. The sheer speed of its dissolution sent shockwaves through society, fueling rampant speculation about what could possibly have gone so wrong so quickly between two individuals who seemed to have everything. While the specific gritty details of the divorce proceedings are largely shielded from public record, a common practice for powerful families eager to contain scandal and protect their reputations, the brevity of their union spoke volumes about profound and immediate personal or relational issues that simply couldn't be overcome. Several interconnected factors undoubtedly contributed to the immense scandal that surrounded their split, factors that resonate even today in the lives of public figures who find their personal lives dissected under the harsh glare of public scrutiny. First, let's delve into Elliott Roosevelt's reputation. Even at a young age, Elliott was known for an adventurous, sometimes impulsive and often reckless personality. Unlike his politically astute older brother James or his serious-minded father, Elliott seemed to struggle more acutely with the monumental expectations placed upon him as a Roosevelt. He wasn't destined for the political arena, nor did he possess the steady academic inclinations of his other siblings. the immense pressure of being the president's son, a title that became even weightier after FDR's inauguration in March 1933, combined with his inherent restless nature, often manifested in a pattern of instability. His later life, a testament to this inherent disquiet, would be a truly tumultuous journey marked by no less than 5 marriages, numerous well-publicized business controversies that often bordered on the ethically questionable, and a persistent, undeniable reputation for personal and professional volatility. It's entirely plausible, even likely, that his erratic behavior, his restless spirit, or a lifestyle that simply didn't align with Elizabeth's expectations or the Donner family's more conservative and established values, created an irreconcilable clash from the very beginning. Perhaps Elizabeth, despite her own privileged background, sought stability, discretion, and a predictable domestic life, while Elliot craved excitement, novelty, and perhaps unconsciously a certain degree of chaos and unruliness that was antithetical to the calm Elizabeth might have desired. Then we must consider the societal expectations of the era. The early 1930s were a period of incredibly rigid social norms, especially for women in elite circles. Divorce, even in less prominent families, was often viewed with disapproval, but one involving the son of an ascendant president was considered deeply scandalous, almost an affront to national morality. It brought unwanted, even unwelcome attention to both the Donner and Roosevelt families, attention that high society usually tried to avoid at all costs, prioritizing discretion and maintaining an appearance of flawless decorum. The press, given Franklin D. Roosevelt's meteoric rise from governor to president-elect in November 1932, and then his actual inauguration as president in March 1933, undoubtedly amplified every whispered rumor, every speculative article, turning what might have been a private marital difficulty into a national sensation. This wasn't just a private matter. It was a public spectacle playing out on the national stage, further complicated by the fact that the nation was grappling with the profound economic and social upheaval of the Great Depression. In such a climate, the Roosevelts were meant to be a beacon of stability, resilience, and traditional American values. A divorce within the first family, even before they fully occupied the White House, was perceived by some as undermining that image. And finally, there's the subtle yet powerful influence of family disapproval. While there's no direct smoking gun evidence of outright opposition from either the Donner or Roosevelt families before the marriage, indeed they initially presented a united front, the sheer speed of the divorce certainly suggests significant familial pressures or deep-seated disapproval once the inevitable cracks began to show. The Donners, with their deep roots in philanthropy, their meticulously cultivated social standing, and their inherent conservatism regarding public image, would have viewed a failing marriage, especially one so public and potentially embarrassing, as a significant liability, a stain on their carefully constructed reputation. The Roosevelts, on the cusp of the presidency, would have been equally keen to avoid any scandal that could tarnish the family name and potentially jeopardize FDR's political future, even if that future seemed secure. It's not hard to imagine intense private conversations, perhaps even strategic interventions, or veiled ultimatums from both sides that hastened the inevitable split, prioritizing family reputation over the struggling union of the young couple. The divorce was officially finalized in 1933, and a telling detail emerged from the dissolution. Elizabeth chose to prominently retain her maiden name, becoming Elizabeth Browning Donner once again. This seemingly small act was a powerful symbolic statement, indicating a clear desire to distance herself from the Roosevelt legacy, to shed the public identity tied to her brief, tumultuous marriage, and to reclaim her own, more private identity. Despite the bitter public end to their union, one lasting connection remained: their son, William Donner Roosevelt, born in 1932. He would become the enduring link between these two powerful yet now separated families, maintaining ties with both sides throughout his life. The scandal, though immense and sensational at the time, eventually faded from the national spotlight as Elizabeth consciously and very deliberately retreated into a life of profound privacy. Elliot, true to his restless nature and his pattern of seeking new beginnings, moved on to other marriages and ventures, each bringing its own share of headlines, but Elizabeth's public chapter effectively closed with this divorce. Following the whirlwind of her public divorce and the intense scrutiny that accompanied it, Elizabeth Browning Donner deliberately chose a path of profound discretion and quietude. Her life after 1933 became notably private, a stark and deliberate contrast to the intense public scrutiny that had defined her brief marriage to Elliot Roosevelt. She effectively vanished from the society pages and the national consciousness, meticulously guarding her personal life. She never remarried, a decision that could be interpreted in many ways. Perhaps it reflected the deep emotional scars left by her high-profile, ill-fated union and its painful fallout, making her wary of future romantic entanglements in the public eye. Or perhaps, having experienced the unforgiving glare of the spotlight and the dissection of her private life, she simply preferred a quieter, more insulated existence, valuing personal peace over any further brush with public judgment or societal expectations regarding remarriage. Her world, now detached from the political machinations of Washington, D.C., revolved primarily around raising her son, William Donner Roosevelt. He served as a crucial, unbreakable tie between the two powerful families, maintaining connections with both the Donners, his mother's lineage of industrial wealth and philanthropy, and the Roosevelts, his father's iconic political dynasty, throughout his life. This ensured that despite the personal rift between his parents, William maintained a link to both sides of his extraordinary heritage. Elizabeth's immense wealth, inherited from her industrialist father, ensured that she lived a life of unwavering comfort and financial security, free from the anxieties that plagued most Americans during the Depression era and beyond. She resided in various affluent locations throughout her life, ultimately settling in the sun-drenched, exclusive enclave of Palm Beach, Florida, a retreat favored by the wealthy seeking privacy and luxury. Here, away from the bustling social scenes of New York or the political currents of Washington, she lived out the remainder of her days until her passing in 1980. Her private life appears to have been meticulously guarded, marked by an almost deliberate avoidance of any situation that could attract public attention. There are no readily available records of further romantic relationships, no new public controversies or scandals that trailed her name, nor any notable professional pursuits that would have placed her back in the public eye. This strongly suggests that after the tumultuous, publicly scrutinized years of her 20s, Elizabeth fundamentally shifted her priorities. She chose to focus on her family, particularly her son, and above all, on maintaining her personal privacy. She seemingly found solace and stability away from the prying eyes of society, choosing a quiet dignity and anonymity over any further brush with fame or scandal, a testament to her desire for a life less complicated by public expectations. Despite her vast inherited wealth and her conscious efforts to live a private life, Elizabeth Browning Donner's journey was undeniably touched by several profound tragedies, both personal and inherited, shaping her perspective and adding layers of complexity to her story. Perhaps the most haunting, and certainly the most historically resonant, was the subtle yet undeniable connection to the infamous Donner Party. While Elizabeth herself was not directly involved in this harrowing historical event, which took place decades before her birth, her very family name carries the undeniable weight of one of America's most grim and notorious pioneer sagas. The Donner Party, a group of American pioneers heading to California in 1846 to 1847, became trapped by heavy snowfall in the Sierra Nevada mountains. Faced with unimaginable hardship and starvation, some members tragically resorted to cannibalism to survive. Elizabeth's father, William Henry Donner, was a direct descendant of that ill-fated Donner family, meaning Elizabeth carried that ancestral burden. Imagine growing up with that legacy, knowing that your family name, otherwise associated with industrial triumph and philanthropy, is also forever linked to such a desperate, dark, and controversial chapter of American history. This profound connection, though distant in time, undoubtedly shaped Elizabeth's awareness of her family's complex past, a constant, unspoken reminder that even the most privileged families have skeletons, or rather ghosts, in their ancestral closet, stories that haunt their lineage regardless of subsequent success. This historical shadow, though never actively discussed in public, may have contributed to her desire for a private, understated life. Then came a more direct personal tragedy, the loss of her mother, Dora Browning Donner, who passed away in 1957. The death of a parent is always a significant personal blow, a profound emotional void. But in Dora's case, her passing also triggered a complex and highly publicized legal battle over her substantial estate. This particular dispute even reached the highest court in the land, manifesting in the 1958 Supreme Court case, Hansen versus Dinkla. While the precise court documents don't directly name Elizabeth Browning Donner as a litigant in the famous case, a relative, Elizabeth Donner Hansen, was indeed deeply involved in a trust dispute originating from Dora's will. This legal wrangling, though not directly involving Elizabeth Browning Donner herself, underscored the inherent complexities and often the intense conflicts and resentments that could arise within even the wealthiest families when it came to inheritance and vast fortunes. It painted a vivid picture of the pressures, suspicions, and legal challenges that came with being a Donner, even after the public spotlight of the Roosevelt marriage had dimmed. These kinds of internal family battles, even when kept out of direct public view, can be immensely draining and emotionally taxing. Finally, there was Elizabeth's own passing. She died in 1980 in Palm Beach, Florida, at the age of 69. While the specific cause of her death has not been publicly documented, her passing at 69, particularly when contrasted with her father's remarkable longevity, William Henry Donner lived to be a robust 89, could be considered a relatively early death for a member of her family, marking the quiet yet definitive end of a life that had traversed both unparalleled privilege and undeniable personal and familial hardship. Her death, like much of her later life, was largely unnoticed by the wider public, a testament to her successful retreat into anonymity. So, what is Elizabeth Browning Donner's legacy? She remains in many ways a fascinating yet often overlooked footnote in history, largely overshadowed by the more towering figures of her era, particularly the monumental presence of the Roosevelts and her own philanthropic father. Her enduring impact is largely tied to her brief, tumultuous role as a member, however temporary, of the Roosevelt family saga, and, more significantly, her indelible connection to the immense wealth and groundbreaking philanthropic endeavors of her father's Donner family. Her son, William Donner Roosevelt, carried forward both powerful family names, becoming a living testament to the intertwined destinies of these two prominent American clans, bridging the world of industrial titans and political giants. Moreover, her father's enduring charitable vision, materialized through the ongoing and impactful work of the Donner Foundation, continues to have a profound and positive impact on scientific research, particularly in the fight against cancer and countless other vital causes to this very day. This philanthropic legacy is arguably the most significant lasting impact connected to the Donner name. Elizabeth's life, however, serves as a poignant reflection of the challenges faced by women, particularly those in elite circles, during the early 20th century. For all their inherited privilege and apparent freedom, their personal choices, especially regarding marriage and more dramatically divorce, were subject to intense societal judgment and could lead to lasting social consequences, often beyond their control. The scandal of her divorce, while perhaps minor compared to the sensational, instantaneous celebrity controversies we see today, was undoubtedly a defining moment for her. It was a catalyst that almost certainly influenced her profound and prolonged retreat from public life, a choice she meticulously maintained for decades. She chose quiet dignity over continued notoriety, a silent but powerful testament to the often unseen price of fame, even when that fame comes merely by association. Her story serves as a reminder that even in the most glittering lives, there can be a deep yearning for peace and privacy away from the relentless gaze of the public eye. Elizabeth Browning Donner, a woman born into a world of immense power and prestige, who touched greatness through her marriage, endured public scandal, and ultimately sought solace and stability in anonymity. Her story reminds us that beneath the glittering surface of wealth and power often lie untold complexities, private heartbreaks, and enduring mysteries. It's a compelling narrative that transcends simple facts, inviting us to ponder the hidden costs of public life and the profound human desire for peace. What do you think her life teaches us about the true cost of fame and fortune, especially when one is thrust into it without seeking it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more incredible historical dives, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a story.